Hey everyone, welcome to a new video series called Let's Code Along. If you haven't heard of me before, I'm Ryan Christiani. I am the author of Let's Learn ES6. I also do a video series on Let's Learn ES6. Same content, a little less content from the book, but I wanted to start this new video series called Let's Code Along, because I wanted to create a new series focusing on having fun and learning to code along the way, and actually exploring some new things. So this video series is going to be a little bit different than the Let's Learn ES6 videos. What I want to focus on here is kind of project-based little code alongs. The starting one here, for example, is going to be a little app using the Spotify API to allow us to maybe create a playlist. So I can look for bands like, let's say, Ghost. We'll say that, and we'll say Opeth. I'm just using really small, easy ones to spell right now. And when we hit create, it should go out and create a playlist for us that when we hit play, will show up in our Spotify for us. So I'm just going to pause that. So this video series, we're going to look at stuff like this. We're just going to kind of work through kind of just breaking down problems, thinking about how we can work with JavaScript and the DOM and kind of bring things together. Later on, so I have planned after this one a code along using React. We'll use React and Firebase to create a little note-taking application. So we'll do some React learning, and we'll also use Firebase to keep persistence. We'll use login and stuff like that. Other things we're going to look at, we're probably going to do like some Redux, RxJS, and we're always going to be using ES6. We always want to try to be doing modern JavaScript as we go. In order to get started for this one, I just wanted to do a really kind of fun, quick one to get started. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this Spotify playlist generator. What we can do, or what you can do, is if you go to github.com/letslearn and go to the Spotify playlist generator repo, you can find all the starting files here. It comes with the complete file, so from what I kind of got working, but we're going to actually build this ourselves here. So if you want, you can clone that on down to your computer, and we can get started. The first thing we're going to do is let's take a look at the markup here. And actually, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the complete script here, and I'll push up to the repo an empty script.js file. But if it's not there by the time you see this, you'll want to make sure you make a script.js file. The repository, or sorry, the index.html looks something like this. Just pretty simple. We have a main container here that has one section in it. It's got a div for the form on the one side that has just an image and the form itself. A really simple form. Again, we're just kind of keeping it really simple today. We have a playlist container over here that has a little loader in there. So a little animation that will play when we want to show that like the data is going and retrieving itself. If you go to the script.js file, again, actually we should take a look at styles. So style.css has some stuff going on. Nothing too fancy in there. But script.js is where we're going to spend most of our time. So I'm going to keep index.html open and script.js here. So I'm just going to go back here, refresh this. Okay. And one thing I always start doing when I start developing is just pop that console open almost immediately because we're going to start diving into some JavaScript, and we want to be able to see if we have any errors, or maybe console log a few things here and there to make sure we're getting what we want. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a little app object to store all of our properties and methods. And we're going to use just a little jQuery here just to get it started. So we're going to say that there's going to be an app.init method. And this will be used to bootstrap or initialize our application. Actually, let's talk about what we want to do, what we want to have happen here. If we take a look here, there is this form. So we're going to want the user to be able to type into the form multiple names. We'll keep it at multiple names for now. Type into the form, and then using those names, we need to go get artist from Spotify. Too many if-I's out there. We need to go get the artist from Spotify. And what we need to do is we actually need to go get their IDs. So what we're going to do is, so I'm on the developer.spotify.com website. Web API endpoint reference, and there is down here, actually I could probably just do this, it's right here, the search endpoint, and this is the one that we're going to use here. So this will allow us to make a call, an AJAX request here, and we can pass in a query, a queue parameter, that allows us to actually look for an artist. So we can query for an artist, and we can pass in the name. So, or actually, no, sorry. What we do is we query I believe a type, and we will want the type to be artist. I think that's the way. If it's not, we'll figure it out when we get there. So what we want to do, and actually I'm going to write some pseudocode here. We want to allow the user to enter some names. Go to Spotify and get those artists. And the whole point here is that we need to get their IDs. So what happens is when that comes back, we're going to be able to get their IDs, and from there, we'll be able to get albums by those artists. So we'll be able to get artists' ID albums and get a list of their albums. And maybe from there, we take a specific number. Maybe we go ahead and get like half their albums or whatever, and get some tracks from there. So unfortunately, when we get an album, we don't necessarily get the tracks. So what we have to do is we have to make another call to get the tracks themselves. So from there, we're actually gonna have to go ahead and call the tracks endpoint, I think there's an albums, albums tracks. So after we get the ID from the albums here, we have to go and get the album's tracks listing, and from there, we'll do a little magic to put it into an iframe widget. So go to Spotify and get the artists with the IDs. We want to get albums, then get tracks, then build playlist. Cool, so let's get started. I don't want to make this too long of a video. So all the way through, we're going to be using ES6 as we go, as much as we can, where we can. So that's going to be something that we'll do. So let's get started. Let's get started first with allow the user to enter some names. So let's make an events method here. And what we can do here is we can say, well, what do we got here? There's the form here, so I guess when the form is submitted, we want to get some data. So we'll say form on submit. Cool. So on submit, we want to, well, first of all, stop it from doing its default. So stop it from submitting to the page. There we go. And what we're going to want to do is let's get the actual data in there. Actually, I think because we're going to change it, we'll use a let here. So let's say values. No, let's say artists. We'll make that equal to really easily. Actually, I know there's only one input here of type search, so we'll make that pretty straightforward. We'll grab the search input, and we'll get the value of that. So let's see if that does anything. We'll just console.log artist here, and let's get started. So jump back to this, refresh, say muse, and like Opus. No, it's not doing anything, so let's take a look here. Well, we actually never called app.events, so down here in the app.init, let's actually call that method. That'll be kind of the thing that gets everything started for us. Now, you might notice that how I'm doing this here might differ than the completed version. Yeah, in the completed version, I just do it in there, but that's okay. The completed version can be used as reference, and actually, I'm going to get rid of that so I don't keep going back to that. So I'm going to refresh, and let's try again. Muse and Ghost. Perfect. Great. So now we have these two artist names or whatever. So what we actually want to do here is we want to make some calls to the Spotify API with those artists. We need to search, load this up here. We need to search the artists, or search for the artists on Spotify. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to make an AJAX request to here. And I think what we can do is let's maybe store this variable, this API variable or value in a property. API URL. The great thing about the Spotify API is that we don't need to use a key to access it. If you want to do more advanced things, you do need a key, but in this case, we can just keep it pretty simple, and we are just kind of getting information. Okay, so we have it stored in there. So I think what we want to do is we want to actually make a method that is going to be used to actually make our Ajax requests. So let's say app.get, or actually search artist. Search artist. And here I think we'll actually use a arrow function. And what we're going to do is we're going to pass the artist name, and we'll do $.ajax from that. So arrow functions, if you don't put parentheses around it, implicit return. So what we're doing here is we're just basically getting rid of those parentheses, not parentheses, curly brackets, and making this just like this function just returns this. But more importantly, it allows us to use the value from here. So yeah, so we have, and actually we'll do template literal for this. We need to get the app.api URL. That's how I did it, right? Yeah. And we need to apply to that the search. And I think that's it. And maybe, you know what, just make it look nicer. Let's get rid of that, and let's put that there so that the stored value doesn't have the trailing slash. And we put the trailing slash here. So method is going to be get. And what else we want? We want the data to be probably data type JSON as well. And we want the data to be a query for, I think we can just do artist name, and maybe we'll try that first and see what happens. Cool. Okay, so you might notice like we're not using like fetch or anything like that. Again, just to keep it really simple, we're just going to use some jQuery here. In reality, we're just using jQuery to do events, property lookup, or sorry, DOM lookup, and then just Ajax here. Probably in the future we'll focus on using like modern APIs like fetch and stuff like that, but I'm just keeping it real simple. And to be honest, I'm keeping it real simple because as a teacher at HackerU, I want to make sure that some of my students just learning will be able to kind of like grasp this stuff right away. So we have this artist here. What we need to do is we need to take this value, which is going to be like a comma separated list, and we need to actually go ahead and split it up and make an array out of it. So let's say artists equal artist.split. What we're going to do is we are going to take the artists and map them to actually make all of those calls. So we'll make a new variable, call it let search artist. No, that's the name of the function. Let's just call it search equals artist.map. And what we can do is we can have the artist name, and we can have that sent to app.searchArtist, and then passed in the artist name. So what's going to happen is this is going to create an array here. This is going to map over and create an array of these calls. And if you take a look here, oops, search, we can see, wow, too many semicolons there. We can see, so keep it simple again, Muse, Ghost. We'll just do the two. And if you take a look here, we have these two Ajax calls. Oh, but we are getting bad requests here. So what are we missing on that call there? It's a get, it's a 400. Why are we getting a bad request? Missing parameter. Type. Oh, yeah. We're missing the type. We want to get type, I believe, artist. Yeah, that should be it. So let's try that now. So if I go Muse, Ghost, there we go. No, not deghost. There we go. Now we're good. Cool. So we're not getting a response back, but if we take a look at our network tab, we will see that we have that data, and that's awesome. So for example, this one is for Ghost, and I'll just make this really big. So we have this object with the artist key, and it has somewhere, I think further down at the bottom here, oh, actually, I think this is an array it has items and then it has possible bands. Because there could be more than one band that starts with the name of Ghost. For example, Handsome Ghost. The one I'm focusing on here is Ghost BC. So what we need to do is with that data, we need to kind of pull it apart a bit. So first of all, we need to make sure that we can get all that data into our application. So I think what we need to do now is, so we've got the Spotify artists, so that's the function that gets that, and we need to get the IDs from there. So first things first is let's actually take that search, or actually we need to use $.when to actually wait for all of those calls to come back. And what we'll do is we'll use the spread operator to spread out these calls from the array, so each element into $.when, because $.when only accepts comma separated values. So if we really wanted to do this, we could have done like search 0, etc. But with the spread operator, again, you can check out my Let's Learn ES6 videos to understand that a bit better, or check out letslearnes6.com and grab my book. But it takes an array and it actually spreads them out. So it allows us to kind of like call the when method as if we were passing them in one at a time. More importantly, we don't. When we do this, we don't have to know the length of the array. We can just kind of do it. So we say then we want to get the data back, and actually we can use an arrow function here. And when that comes back, we can use rest parameters because again, we don't know how many things are coming back. So we can do, let's call this results. So this will gather up all of the returned things for us. And you know what, just to make sure that we're on the right track, we'll do console.log results. Oops, hit it too early there. Cool, so we've made that call, and if I look in the console here, perfect. These are the two successful AJAX requests. So when you use $.when, it always gives you an array back for each call, and it has three elements in it. The first is the data we want. The second is if it was successful, and then, or I guess the success status. And then the third one, the last one, is the actual call itself, the promise that is returned. So what we want is this here. So what we can do is let's actually just get that out of there. So we'll use our friend map again to map out just that value. So I'll say, oops, what am I doing here? Let's keep it small. We'll say res. We just want to return res 0 there. And more importantly, I think we actually want to return res 0 items 0. So I think we can do this, items 0. So that should just be the first object inside of the items array. The items array is like the array that has all of the possible matches, where the first one, I believe, is sort of the most relevant match. With that, we can, well, let's see what it is first. And actually, you got to make sure you store that onto a new value. So I'm just kind of constantly keeps changing results here. So we'll go console.log results. And let's make sure this is getting what we want. So muse, ghost. You know what I think? I'm going to set those as default values. Cannot read property 0 of undefined. Perfect. So what does that, where does that actually happen? On line 15, so it's obviously this one here. So I'm wondering if that is not actually getting us what we want. Oh, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to set these as default values. That way I can just hit enter and it does what I want. Oh, yeah, what I had to do here is this returns an object that has artists on it, and then I can get items 0. That'll be better, I think. Yeah, let's try that. Blammo. Let's see here. Perfect, great. Actually, more importantly, we just kind of want the ID, don't we? Because what we're going to need to do is, now that we've done this search, we want to go get albums by this artist. So there's this endpoint artists ID albums that allows us to pass that value along and actually get the albums. Yeah, so I actually think we want to do this. Just ID like that. Let's see. So that'll just be a really simple array that actually comes back of those. It's really interesting because we've made this call to get all this data just to get those IDs, and now we need to move on to the next one. So I think what we're going to do is hopefully stop doing a lot of work in here, because this is sort of done. This gets the data we want. What we need to do is let's make a function that will be used to go get the album. So we'll call this get artist albums. And again, we can kind of use an arrow function here where we are going to pass along artist ID. And again, we're going to use $.ajax to go to the URL. So this one changes a bit here. So it's going to be, and actually let's double check. It's going to be artists. We'll just copy this. And actually, what we can do is we can just turn that into an expression and then just go boom, like that. Again, I always like to just put kind of explicitly get, although again, I believe get is the default. Data type defaults to, actually I think in the documentation it says an intelligible or intelligent guess. I'm hoping it's usually JSON. And you know what? I don't think we need to send any data here because, maybe we want to send album type album instead of singles and compilations. Actually, that makes a lot of sense. So let's send that as album. Cool. Looking good. So what we need to do now is with this, again, maybe what we'll do is we will chain this map along. So we can just go .map again on that and take the ID and pass that along to app.getArtistAlbums and pass along the ID there. I know I keep doing this thing where anytime there's a single parameter, I kind of flip-flop between putting parentheses around it or not. But with arrow functions, when you have a single parameter being passed, you can remove the parentheses and make it look a little bit nicer. But don't move it around like that. Cool. So, yeah, we have now, if we go console.log results, we should have, click that. There we go. We now have, of course, we have to get the data. So I think what we're doing here is we're kind of like really doing a lot of work in here. So what we should do is maybe we should pass this this value along to a new function. So app.get, what should we call it? So we've done the go to the get the artist. We've gotten the IDs. Now we need to get the tracks. So we'll go app.getTracks. Cool. So I guess what we'll do is we'll do this. We'll pass this along to that function. Although, no, not really, because we want this to be a function to actually get the artist tracks. It just feels kind of wrong to keep doing so much work inside of here and then kind of constantly keep going in. So, what should we do here? Maybe what we should be doing is we should be breaking this out into its own function and this out into its own function so that we can kind of just keep passing the data along. And these are sort of our like utilities that are just going to get the data themselves. I think that makes sense. So what could we call this one here? Maybe let's call it, let's call it retrieve artist data, retrieve albums, artist, no, because this one's, yeah, we'll call it retrieve artist information. So what we'll do is we'll put that, let's put that down. We'll do it right here, why not? Cool, so what we're gonna do is I'm going to take this call here, I'm gonna put it in here, and I'm going to say that the search is the thing that we pass along. App.retrieve artist info and pass the search along. just because I feel like once this form has done its thing, like it's done the search, like that's kind of it, right? Because I'm sort of doing this on the fly, I'm not actually going back to my reference. I feel like there's probably a better way to do that, but let's keep it kind of nice and simple for now. So then this goes and gets the artist, it gets their album IDs, and then maybe we want to get a app.retrieve artist tracks. So we can actually pass along this data like this. So yeah. So that gets passed into here. We'll call this artist albums, I guess. That way, and we'll just verify that all this stuff is working along. Inside of here, we have everything going just fine. Cool. And then these are the AJAX requests. So now in here, what we can do is we can say $when artist albums then arrow function albums. We'll just call them albums down here. Yeah, cool. And then console.log albums. Hit send again. Great. So we do have to do that thing where we kind of like map out and get the first one again, and then get the items. And we do that same thing up here. So I think this is actually a great place where we can actually make a function to get first element. Actually, make it really simple. Const get first element. So make a reusable function that literally just returns the first element. So we'll call it like item, and it just returns item 0. And then what we can do is up here, we can maybe make this a little bit nicer, where as the first map, we map and we get first element. And then that means that this here is going to get passed the information. So it's going to be able to do just res.that. So this is going to map and grab just that item. It's going to return it there and do the same thing. And the same thing down here, we can do albums equals albums.map. Get first element, and just to prove the point, I'll show you it here. There we go, and then you can see it just has the first element. Now we could get really kind of picky and have like one for the items, but let's keep it really simple like that. So in our case here, we need to add one more map to this to return, we'll just use res again here, to return res.items. And I just want to get with that so that we have an array of, unexpected token, 62. Oh, put a semicolon there. Not needed. Great, look at that. So we have this array of all of these albums. Now, there's something we have to do here. So the one last sort of big call we need to make is we need to, with these album IDs, so these are all the albums here, we need to get all of these IDs, and then we need to make an AJAX request to go get all of the tracks for those albums. So what we need to do is, and I'll show you, it is the artists endpoint here. Albums endpoint. Albums ID tracks. So this is the one we're going to be using. So what we're going to do is we are going to make a call and get that. So first things first is we need to change this data a bit. Right now it is 2 arrays, each array representing one of the artists. We need to, first of all, take all of those objects, flatten them into one array, and then ultimately get all of the IDs out of that. So what we can do is we can actually kind of keep going along here. We can do something called flattening to actually take the array of objects and actually flatten and concatenate them all together. And we can do that with the reduce method. The reduce method is really cool. It takes the previous element in an array and the current element in the array, and we can do anything we want with it. More importantly, we can set up the previous for the first time to be like an empty array. And using ES6, we can do this. We can say return an array that is previous spread out and current spread out. Oops. So we're just kind of taking those two arrays and flattening them and concatenating them together. This would work, again, really great if we had multiple arrays. In our case, we only really have the two. So if we take a look at this now, look at this. We have a huge array, well, huge, 30 items is not huge, but a large array of all of the albums. And we can see that it's a mix of, I guess this is a Muse album and this is a Ghost album. It's a good album. So what we need to do now is with that, again, if we take a look, unfortunately it doesn't have the tracks on it, so we have to go get, using this ID, the tracks. So again, our helpful friend map comes into play, and it will go and get the ID. So we'll say album, I guess we could use here. And actually, you know what we should call this now? Album IDs, because this is really what this data represents. Awesome, look at that. A much larger, or a more concise list of what we need. So the last thing we need to do is make this call, and we're finally going to bring it all together. So we need to do the get tracks portion. So actually, we're going to change this because I was going to do sort of more in there, but we'll just send it back to this. And actually, even, we don't need that. So we'll use $.ajax to make our calls. We'll set the URL to be, again, the app.api URL. We'll set it to, what is it, albums / the ID. Probably could have copy and pasted it. So we'll assume that the ID gets passed to it here. And I think it's just tracks, but I'll double check that. It is just tracks, yeah, cool. We can get a limit if we want. So it defaults to 20. I'm okay with that. We can offset it if, I guess, there's a lot of tracks. And then the market, I guess if you want to get a specific US release or like Japan release or something like that. But we'll keep it simple. So with that in mind, I think what we should do is, well, this is sort of the retrieve artist data one. Yeah, I guess we just do that call here. So ultimately we go .map and we call, so IDs, and we'll pass that into app.get artist tracks and pass in the IDs. And then you know what we're going to do is we're going to build the playlist after that. So we're going to pass this information along. So I'll do app.build playlist, and we'll pass along album IDs. So we'll do it up here. We'll create that app.build playlist, and we will just get that going for us here. So this will be, I guess, tracks. This will be the tracks that come back. Super pro at typing. And we'll console.log track results. Now there is an issue. So like the free version of the API does have a rate limit. And there are some endpoints that allow you to get like more information. There are, it does tell you in like the getting started guide, but there are like get several albums and stuff like that. But unfortunately, actually, maybe we could have used this one earlier. Could we have used this one earlier? Yeah, I think we could have used this one earlier to get the oh, no, because this gets the, we would have needed to know the album ID earlier on, which we didn't know. So yeah, unfortunately, I think I remember looking into these earlier. We have to make all these extra calls. There are some endpoints that get several albums, get several tracks, but that's if you already know the IDs. Unfortunately, we don't. We kind of get them on the fly. So hopefully we don't hit a rate limit with this. I don't think we will, but let's find out. Cool, look at that. So now we have all of our data back here. And again, you know what? We need to map and get that first item out of there again. So we're going to take track results and make it equal to track results.map get first item, or first element, sorry. And then we probably want to just take out all of these songs, don't we? Because these represent all of the songs. So hold on, let me show you first what this just did. So console.log track results here, and I refresh the page. I hit create again. It goes out and it gives us an array of the album, the results of the calls. And realistically, what we want to do here is we want to take these tracks, these items here, and just get those and then flatten them again, similar to what we did down here. So actually, what we're going to do is we're going to make a new function called flatten. Just like that. Just keep it really simple, so that what we can do in here is we can just pass flatten in and say that we're doing flattening starting with that, so that down here, after we map out the items, so we'll say, what should this be? Well, I'll just call this item, and we just want to return the item.items. Yeah, I think that's what we want. I always like to just double check as we go here. Although hopefully that doesn't make us hit our rate limit. Cool, there we go. Yeah, that's all we want. And then ultimately we want to reduce, and we want to flatten and start that with an empty array. Cool, so this is gonna give us, ooh, I probably have a semicolon. There we go. What we want. Awesome, look at that. So we now have an array of 370, so a little bit of a bigger array, but these are now all of the songs from these artists. So that's actually a really good song from Ghost. What we need to do is we need to build our playlist. And actually, before we do that, I think what we should do is we shouldn't build a playlist based on all these songs. We should build a playlist based on a random selection of these songs. So one more kind of helper function for us, one we'll call get random track. And what that will do is that will take our track array. We'll just do it like this. I always mess up typing because I have the mic in front of me and it's kind of covering the keyboard, and I have to like dodge to the side to get it to look at it, and I try to like do that as little as possible. Also, I'm just terrible at typing. But what we're going to do here is we're going to return from that. We're going to return, this might be a little hairy here, track array math dot, actually, you know what we should do? We'll make it look a little bit nicer, just so it doesn't get too confusing. So we have to explicitly return here. We'll say const random number, rando num equals math.floor, math.random times track array.length. And what we'll do is we'll return from that a random track from the array. So if we do that here, what we can do is maybe we just have a, I guess actually just a regular old for loop for this. So we'll say const random tracks. I'll make that an empty array. We can just go random tracks. We'll say let I equals 0. Let's say we want 30 random tracks. So I is less than, I is less than 30, I plus plus. So increment this 30 times for us, and let's push into the random tracks array. Ooh, a random track. So what we'll call is get random track, and we'll pass in the track results array. So that over here, the random tracks array should be just a list of 30 of those random tracks. Cool, perfect. Actually, what we need from that is just the IDs. So dare we go one step further here, and we just map out up here just those IDs. So we'll just go item.id. ID. It's just ID, I think, right? Yeah, cool. Love a good map, reduce, flatten. We haven't actually done filter at all here. I guess we don't really have to filter anything. So let's take a look at this, refresh this, hit go. Awesome. Cool. So there's a little trick to Spotify, and actually this is where I am going to look at the complete one real quick because I want to grab this base URL here. But there's a little trick to Spotify where that using this iframe, using this URL and putting this into iframe and then appending on a comma separated list of these IDs, we can actually generate a playlist from that. So you could call this my, whatever playlist you want it to be. And what we can do is we can take this list of IDs, join them together, and actually make a playlist. So this is really cool. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say random tracks equals random tracks.join. And I think that'll join it with a comma by default. So we're taking an array and joining it into a string. And what we can do here is we can just, actually, let's go template literal on this. So I'm actually just going to console log the base URL real quick. Make sure it is what we want it to be. Hit that. It's going to be a big old URL assignment to const. Of course, we don't want to do that. Actually, you know what we can do here? Instead of doing that like that, we can just change it on the spot here because that is valid, but doing it the other way around is not good to go. And I should remove that. Perfect. This is what we want. So it's just a big URL that represents our playlist, our custom playlist. So what we need to do now is we need to make a quick iframe and then just insert that into our playlist here. So what we're going to do, actually, maybe we'll make this real simple here. If we do select the, was it class playlist? Yeah, class playlist. Ooh, capital or no capital? No capital. .html. I think we can simply just do this. We'll just do iframe source equals. Actually, we want to make this a template literal, so we can do that. The source is going to equal the base URL. I think if I could type that last one, that should be it, actually. Let's see what happens. So we start. Clear this up, refresh this. Start with these two. I hit create. It goes get the artist IDs. It goes gets the album IDs, and it goes to get this. Perfect. Except this is not the playlist we are looking for. There should be many more on here, and I wonder why it doesn't get the playlist that we want. Oh, it's in the compact mode. I think what we need to do is, and again, I'm just going to check real quick here. I think we need to pass in a height. Yes, that is correct. A height to actually get what we want it to be. So by default, I think based on the height of your iframe, it will load whatever. So I think if you give it a height of like, I don't know, 400 or something like that, it'll allow you to go get a larger, yes, perfect, a larger little widget. And again, like it is now a random list. So a lot of Ghost songs up front, a Muse song, some more Ghost, a whole bunch of Muse, etc. And again, if you click on this and you have Spotify open, it'll actually open it for you, or if not, but here it is playing right here and it's inside of here. Pretty neat. So like a fun little app. Let's do one more finishing touch. There is a loading icon in there, so let's actually get that going. If you take a look in the CSS, the loading icon is currently set to display none. So we'll just go ahead and toggle that show class on it. So basically, when the user clicks submit, I think what we want to do is we want to grab the loading icon and toggle class of show. So if it's off, it'll be on. And more importantly, down here, just when it's about to, where is it? Yeah, just as it's about to be built, we will do the same thing again. Loading dot toggle class show. All right, so here we go. final, go here. Going back to the console, we have these bands. Maybe I'll add in another band real quick. We hit create, goes searches, gets the IDs, gets the artist albums, gets the tracks, bam. Did it show? I wasn't actually paying attention. Did it show our loading icon? It did not. Probably because it's not called loading, is it? It's called loader. Yep, crushed it. Loader and loader. Awesome. Okay, final one, I promise. Here we go. Refresh. We go, boom. Nice little icon. Takes a second. There we go. And that's it. So that's all I wanted to show for this first introductory episode of Let's Code Along. Again, this is going to be a new series. This is a quick one-off one, but this series will actually be more about taking projects for a couple more videos than just like a one-off, and kind of like exploring some things. The whole idea is it's not going to be super scripted. As you kind of saw today, I was kind of jumping back and forward between this. So this is kind of a different look than what this script looks like, but we kind of like talked through and kind of worked on a problem. So I'll have an idea of what I'd like to do with the video, with the project we're working on. I'll have built it, but honestly, we're going to kind of like hit some problems together and work through them. And I think that's the kind of the best way to learn some new things. And more importantly, we're going to explore some things that I think we should be looking at, and frankly, that I'd like to look at. So it'll be a lot of fun. Again, head over to letslearnes6.com, grab a copy of my book, Let's Learn ES6, because we're going to do a lot of ES6 throughout the rest of these videos, and all of these videos actually. So that's really going to help you get up and running with that. And it's still early access, so you can save $5. I actually have had not a lot of time to write lately, so I'm actually going to adjust this countdown to make sure that it represents the sort of the content I still have. So you can save $5 right now for Let's Learn ES6. Lots of great content in there, and constantly going to be adding more content as I keep going. You can also subscribe to this channel if you want to keep up to date with what's going on. And if you haven't watched my Let's Learn ES6 videos, watch those as well. The book will have more content than that, but the Let's Learn ES6 videos will help you get started right now if you just want to like jump onto a new video after this. Well, that's it for this episode, this introductory episode. I'll see you next time, and let's code along.